Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Real Housewives of New York City season 13 episode 6. So stay tuned to the other side.
Give me the music. Give me the music.
And you know what? That was just the beginning.
This episode starts off with an argument that started with Luann and Ebony in the previous episode, and it's basically where Luann and Ebony are having a conversation, and Ebony brings up her college credentials and all of that stuff, and she's a little offended by the fact that Luann calls her less educated because she is one of those people that throws her credentials up in people's faces, which is a bit aggressive and whatever, but that's like another topic. But anyway, Luann kicks Ebony out of the house. Ebony leaves and goes back to Ramona's house where she has a conversation with Leah on how the conversation all went down and the argument started and how she got kicked out. And basically she went back to the house and told Leah that Luann called her an angry black woman. I don't remember Luann saying black. I don't remember that. And I also don't believe that Luann said it in a malicious way or even a tone. I think Luann said it in the way that she is accustomed to in her world. I think Luann's world is a little smaller than the average person, you know, living a multicultural, diverse, open life. Even though Luann is very cultured and she knows different languages and all that stuff, I still see her as a very closed-minded individual. I've watched The Real Housewives from New York City from episode 1, and I remember there was a time when Luann and Bethany were getting in a cab, and Bethany introduced Luann as Luann instead of Countess de Lesseps, and Luann was very offended by that simply because she introduced her to a cab driver in such a way. And so Luann has a different perspective on life due to her experiences, and I feel like sometimes she can be a little elusive and delusional in her thinking, and also I don't know, I don't think it's always something to be taken seriously, but also it's really weird. Having this conversation is really weird because, people say stuff and people do stuff. People of different cultures, I would say, even to me as a black gay man, people say stuff and do stuff to me, and you can go with it and just like laugh it off or just like act like it never happened or whatever. But if you do that, they will continue that pattern of disrespecting people who look like you. And for me, I think to myself, well, maybe there isn't another black boy or black girl who can explain it in such a way that people can actually understand. So this is actually my moment to kind of explain to you why what you said was offensive and why you probably shouldn't say it again or probably get better words or something like that. Because Ebony actually brought up a really good point when the girls were meeting after getting back to the house. Everybody got back to the house, and Heather interjected and went into the room with Ebony and Leah, and she kind of softened Ebony up a little bit and tried to explain to her, which, by the way, I believe the scene where Heather was she was kind of going in on the white women at the table about certain stuff, and it made sense to me. It truly made sense to me. It's imperative that some people, especially when you don't understand where a person is coming from or why a person is saying that they are hurt by something that you've done or said, it's important for us to kind of like take a seat and just like re-evaluate the moment, the situation, and what that person is trying to say. So many of us always talk, and we don't listen. And being called an angry black woman is a thing in the United States of America, and a lot of black women don't want to be called that, and they don't want to be treated like that as well. And they want people to understand that me being upset doesn't it doesn't equal to me being violent toward you or defensive toward you. It means that I'm having a moment just like you have when you feel misunderstood or you feel like your point isn't getting across. I feel like that's where Ebony was trying to come from, but at the same time, it drags the moment. It drags the moment, and it's like, why do we even have to have these conversations in the first place? Nobody wants to go around and be like, you can't say that, or I don't like the way you said that to me. Like, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to penalize adults. Like, we do stuff because we want to, and like I said, because of our experiences and our backgrounds and all of that good stuff. And I do not believe that Luann is a racist. I do believe that she is extremely tone deaf. I absolutely believe that she's tone deaf, and she's also, even though she lives in a world that she feels she has freedom, I feel like Luann is very closed-minded at certain things that I feel like her and actually Ramona are in the same boat when it comes to that in certain situations. But I will say this, Ramona took a seat back on this episode. Her personality really kind of took a seat back in this episode. She was very much an active listener. She was very much quiet and actually trying to absorb the information that Heather as well as Ebony was expressing as far as, race relations when it comes to women, and black women do not want to be called angry black women. And just because they are expressing an emotion that you feel uncomfortable with because you don't know how it's going to turn out doesn't mean that it's going to be violent, and they don't want to be called angry. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. Just like white women don't want to be called Beckys or Karens. Like, it's the same difference. It literally is the same difference. And I'm going to move on from that for a moment. So Leah I'm reading my notes from my notepad because I can't. She gets a phone call from her mom, or she calls her mom, and her mom gives her bad news about her grandmother, who is dying at that time. And I just don't understand why she just won't go home, or why she just didn't even show up in the first place. Like, why, if my grandmother died a while back ago, maybe like in 2005 or 6 or something like that. If my grandmother was dying and not already dead, I would have been there like the entire process, no matter what. And Leah is saying that she's not there with her grandmother because her grandmother is unresponsive, but she's also saying that there are other people there as well because she has a really, really large family, and so do I. There's no way in the world someone as prolific in my family like my grandmother would be dying and I would be on a TV show somewhere away from her. Just no way possible. I don't understand why Leah just won't go home. Like, she like explodes, and it's like, girl, what? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I just can't take her sometimes. So the girl Heather bridges a gap with Ebony and the other girls, and Ebony goes into conversation with Lou, and they have this incredible, very vulnerable conversation that I've never seen happen on this franchise ever. I've never seen someone have such an impactful and incredible dialect on the Real Housewives of New York City ever. It just has never happened. And in the moment, I had to actually rewind because I had to get back to like, okay, this is really happening. It touched me. And there was one thing that Sonia actually said that stood out to me. She said, the burden's on us. We are white privileged ladies. Nobody's turning the page and moving forward. We have to read the page, feel the pain, and be a little awkward, and then we can move on to other pages. I think that was probably the most profound thing I've ever heard Sonia say I don't know if I haven't been paying. I've watched her, so, and Sonia to me is the epitome of class. She just is. She likes to have sex, and she likes the company of other men, but she's a single woman, so it's like, why can't she enjoy that? And I revel in that. I feel like she's like a Samantha, from Sex and the City. She's like the Samantha of the Real Housewives of New York City. I think when I think of the Real Housewives of New York City, Sonia's name is synonymous with that, because I feel like she's probably one of my favorite characters, and it's nothing to do with her actions on how she was divorced or anything like that. It's all to do. You can actually see the core of Sonia a lot. You can see her spirit, and you can see that she is progressive in her thinking, and she is built of elegance and grace and class and of honor. Outside, she's built, but she doesn't see it in herself, and that's the part that hurts me about Sonia more than anything. I think when she played this older woman sex pot situation on the Real Housewives of New York City, and later in older episodes and seasons, I think it kind of did a disservice to her spirit, and I feel like she kind of saw it and she kind of cut it off, because it's not as played up as it used to be. And I really appreciate that about her. But I think she's one of those people. She's the Sonia, the Morgan, but she's not so far off to where she can't connect with other people. And that's something that I really appreciate about Sonia. I really do. I'm going to go ahead and move on to Leah and Heather. They get into a situation where Ebony must have told Leah that Heather had a conflicting or opposing opinion about Leah not feeling comfortable voting. And I'll tell you this episode was so prolific in America. Like, this is America. This episode was America, because Leah, who I at first did not understand her position and where she was coming from, but she came from the same exact position that I came from. I did not want to vote for Trump because Trump was what he was and still is, but I also did not and was not and still don't have total faith in Joe Biden as well. And so it's like, do I want my country to go back to a normal in which we can actually live in peace and try to, recover from the trauma that we've experienced in the last 4 to 5 years, with this man in the White House? And I understood exactly where Leah was coming from. I did, and I did not want to vote. I absolutely did not want to vote. I feel like I was put in the same position that I was put in when Donald Trump and Hillary were voting. I felt like it was like, who the hell do you vote for? Who do you vote for? And I understood where, she was coming from. And then Heather has this superior, greater than thou perspective about everything, and her perspective never allows other people an opportunity, I feel like, for me, when it comes to Heather. And Leah basically read that bitch for everything I think of her, and I feel like a lot of other people think of her as well. Heather is a very sweet person. I feel like she comes from a genuine place. I feel like she comes from a place of wanting to understand and wanting to be a part of. But you know what? She's also she's a work in progress as well. We all know that if you work with Beyonce and you work with Puff Daddy, that's not the ideal black life. Hello? And then also the comment that Heather made when she said to Ebony that she was articulate. That is one of the most racist, most disgraceful things that people have said to me. And so one time, I'll tell you a quick story real quick. So one time I was looking at apartments, and this particular apartment that I was looking at was owned by an Asian family, and they did not speak English very well at all. And when the owner, we were having a great conversation. We got along really well, and it was a possibility that I could rent from him, but other situations happened in my life that prevented that from happening, and it had nothing to do with him. He was more than willing and ready for me to move in, so I do want to say that. But when we stood in front of his house and we were having a conversation about me and about him, and how this situation could work out for both of us, he said to me that for a black person, you speak very clearly. And I've had that said to me at my job. I've had that said to me out and about and in public. And it at first, it's a compliment coming from them, of course. And you wanna smile and be happy that, oh, they've said something so nice about me, But at the same time, it's just like, but you don't even speak clear English. So how can you say that about me and my people? And you, like, English is like your fourth or fifth language. Like, you don't even speak the dialect as clearly as other people may want you to, but you've come out of your face to say this to me. And again, I think that sometimes it may be a compliment or something like that, but at the same time, I feel like people need to be mindful of what they say. They need to be mindful of what they say, because just because you've said it to these people or to this group of people, like, it's okay with them, doesn't mean that it's going to be okay with me. And I feel like we need to have that conversation, and we need to be in a certain relationship for you to be so, vocal about my ability to speak English, because some people don't speak clear English, and it's an insult to say that, and you don't. I just believe that. I don't know how other people feel, but that's just my opinion. I wanted to talk about Sonia a little bit more, and how, I've seen her be treated a certain way by the other women, especially when it comes to Luann. For Luann to discount Sonia's relationship, especially when it came to the man that Luann decided to marry. Sonia was very vocal about the fact that she was seeing this man for so long, and then her friend marries him. How disgraceful and how embarrassing is that? I just, I feel like certain cast members like Luann and sometimes Ramona, they kind of diminish her greatness because they're jealous. Like, Sonia always looks great. She always has a really good attitude, especially when the mood is good and the vibe is right. And I think that sometimes the other girls are a bit jealous of that. Anyways, the girls are beginning to get ready, for the beauty pageant 70s event that they're having later that night. And Leah, like always, gets really, really upset, like I was saying in the beginning, about Heather talking about, her not wanting to vote, and Leah storms out of the room and expresses her emotions to Heather. Heather doesn't understand where she's coming from. Leah goes out, gets on the bus to get ready to go. Heather gets in the bus, Luann leaves, and Leah's like, no, I don't want to be in here with her. She calls her like a bitch or something like that, and then she throws stuff at her and then leaves and says she's not going. I don't care for Leah. She's not one of my favorites. Heather is definitely not one of my favorites. She's never been one of my favorites. And Ramona, Luann, Sonia are definitely my staples, and I feel like they keep the thing going. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is my first Real Housewives of New York City review. This is my first review of any TV show. I'm actually thinking about doing this because I watch these shows all the time, every week, and I feel like I have an opinion, and I like to express that opinion. If you've liked what I have to say, or if you would like to see my future content, please like and subscribe down below. And leave a comment if you have anything to say about what I've had to say today. I'm okay with people who are opposed to my opinion, and I'm definitely open to a new perspective on what I've had to say to you guys today. So until next time, I'll talk to you later. I'll see you on the other side.
Give me the music.
And you know what? That was just the beginning.